Just a quick discussion on food cafeteria. Talk a little bit about marketing, how we can help you, help yourselves, help you grow your business. And then talk a little bit about job order contracting, which is more construction related towards the end. Try and get you out of here on time. And for the folks in the room, we'll have lunch at the end here. All right. Good. There we go. Okay. So what is a contract? This is just kind of we call it a win-win-win. It's a win for you guys for selling product. It's a win for us for getting sales activity by using our contracts. And it's a win for the customer by helping them be more efficient, hopefully get a more competitive price, but also helping them just get their process done quicker and remaining compliant. As we'll talk about a little bit later, the legal requirements, things like that, there's just a lot of them out there. As a vendor, I don't care. I just want a PO. I want to move down the road and I want to sell something. I get that, but you'll get a whole lot more success by using Honey and helping them help themselves than by fighting the system. That's why we exist, is to help these guys navigate all their government code statutes, things like that we'll talk about in a little bit. And kind of we call them members, you guys would call them customers. The members are the school districts, charter schools, counties, municipalities, education, higher ed, K-12, things like that. Universities are the people that are going to be using our contracts. This is kind of I know this means a lot to some people in the room that have been with us a while, but it's kind of telling you what happens when we use a contract. A lot of folks in this room probably know, yeah, we have a contract with you. Well, what happens? You're what we're, I got a pointer on. You're what we call the awarded vendor. And you've got a contract, you've gone through the evaluation process, you've embedded. It doesn't give you, when you talk to a lot of members, a lot of times they'll have a separate vendor packet for you to fill out with them. So this doesn't automatically get you a vendor packet with every school district out there, or every university or city or whatever. They may have their own terms and conditions. They may have a lot of different things set up on their own that's totally separate. What this does, we like to call it like a fishing license or a hunting license, allows you to go and say, we've been vetted, we've gone through the governmental RFP process, and we're ready to go. You can use our contracts tomorrow. You don't have to reinvent the wheel and spend 3 or 4 or 5, 6 months reinventing the wheel, putting a solicitation out on the street, waiting, evaluating it, preparing board agenda items, waiting for the next monthly board meeting, preparing that 3 weeks in advance of the board meeting. There's a lot that they have to do that we've already done. Okay, the member is obviously the person that will give you guys a PO. There's, oh geez, where am I going? I'm going the wrong way. The member is the one that sends you the PO that you work with, and we'll probably talk a whole lot more. Stephen will talk a little bit more about this when we talk about job order, contract with services agreement, and things like that down the way. But basically the transaction is they're giving you an authorization to do the job, an authorization to start the work and get paid. The interlocal agreement is something that you guys don't get involved in, but it's a government to government agreement, it's an agreement between all of our members and us. We are a governmental entity. We all work for something called Harris County Department of Education. We'll talk about in just a second, but we're a governmental entity, and it allows them to use our contracts. That's basically why we all exist. And the highly technical term a lot of people use is piggyback. That doesn't, everybody knows what a piggyback is. They're basically piggybacking more or less off of our contracts. That's how we exist. And the other reason is we've got that small admin fee from a couple of points or whatever it is on your paperwork to make it easier for you to have this awarded contract going out to thousands of members at any point in time and being able to solicit business and not having to have them go reinvent the wheel, start another RFP process, public solicitation, and all that type of stuff. And the awarded contract, again, is the document that you can have a piece of paper. I was a vendor before coming here, and I'd carry it around in my briefcase. Maybe I'm dating myself, but I'd carry it around in my book or whatever, and talk about, hey, this is our contract number. Anything you want to do, just refer to this contract number. So that's the number that you always want to add to all the POs and things like that also. So really, we've got the interlocal agreement here, government, the awarded contract, and then the PO is what you guys are most familiar with. And on the PO, we do request that all the contract information is on there, just like the contract number that you have with us. All right. So like I said a minute ago, ECDE is Harris County Department of Education. That's what my paycheck says. We don't work on bonuses, commissions, things like that. We're government employees. We're in the teacher retirement system, just like a lot of the people you're dealing with. We use our own contracts. A lot of you guys probably deal with us, or we have a separate internal purchasing department that buys things also for our schools and offices or whatever. Roofing, construction, just whatever is out there. A lot of the curriculum, things like that. So we have a separate purchasing department, but ACDE is Harris County Department of Education. It's been around since the 1890s. The state of Texas, I know we've got probably virtual people from outside of Texas also. The state of Texas has 254 counties. At one time, there were 254 county departments of education, CDE. And they have all since, starting in about the 1920s, once a school area, an area exceeded 500 students or something, they had the ability to become an ISD. That's where all of us around here know there used to be 254 county departments of education. Now there are probably 12 or 1,300 school districts in the state of Texas. So out of the 254, 253 have gone by the wayside. There's one left this year where we work in the largest county in Texas. I think it's probably the third largest county in the country. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that interlocal relationship that you have with the schools, like a better term. I mean, who do you all contact? Do you contact either the board of the city, the board?
Let me just repeat the question and then I'll answer.
Yeah.
The question was kind of, I guess, going back to this, what is the interlocal agreement? Who do we work with on the governmental side? That's a very good question for just kind of being new to the industry. The interlocal agreement is an agreement that's by and between two governmental agencies, and it's between us and then whoever. I'm just picking Houston ISD, everyone knows them. City of Dallas, whatever, City of San Antonio. It's an agreement between two governmental entities that allow them to share the same contract. Typically, the way it works, it's mandated in the state of Texas. Outside of the state of Texas, some states and some entities will use a full interlocal agreement. It's about a 5-page agreement. Some basically check a box stating that I'm an out-of-state entity. I'm not required to fill out an interlocal agreement. And we accept that also. And that's what happens with a lot of out-of-state entities. But what it is, it has no terms on it. It has no commitment, no expiration date. There's no cost. All it is a legal document allowing them to use our contracts. And what happens is they can either download it from our website or we will send them a blank document. We'll fill it out. Typically, someone that's authorized on their end will execute it or sign it. A lot of school districts, city councils, counties has to go maybe to the Board of Commissioners Court or the city council or the board of trustees, a board meeting. It'll get executed on their side. We'll come back. Every one of our board meetings has board agenda items, and we have interlocals. I think we had about 14 or 16 going to this month, and they're executed. They're countersigned on our side. And once both parties have signed it, they're good to go. We'll send them a copy back. One other little caveat, that's a good question. One other caveat, when people do have to fill out the interlocal agreements, I have this conversation all the time. I think most of our choice partners people do too, is they don't have to wait for the document to be countersigned by us to start doing business with you. The moment that it is signed and we have proof or whatever, the date that it's signed, you're able to transact business with them. We've had a lot of vendors in the past. They're like, oh, even small, not-for-profits, maybe a church or whatever, you know, they're out selling the copiers or whatever they're selling, and they're like, oh, today your street price is $15,000. You sign this document, and you're looking to become a member of this co-op that I work with. It's $9,000. Well, most everybody says, where's the pen? You know, and so they'll sign those type things. But our attorney has written wording in there that it's effective upon first signature. That phrasing is in our interlocal agreement. So you don't have to wait for them to sign it, wait for another 2 or 3 weeks to send it to their board, get it signed and ship it to us prepare it for 3 weeks to come to our board to knock out those 1 or 2 months of waiting. The moment they sign it, you guys can do business with them. That's a good question. And that kind of allowed me to kind of bring up the other part of it also. Did that help answer it?
I sure did. Thank you.
Okay, it's just a legal document allowing them to use our contract. Okay, so we talked about this, and then ACDE is also a local taxing authority here. And if you see your bill, live in Harris County, you'll see Harris County Department of Education, and it's very, very small. It's a couple of dollars for $100,000 valuation, and it's very minimal that we do on the taxing. So what is HCDE? HCDE used to be literally like what our ISD school districts are now. It's transformed and morphed into providing a number of different services out there. And just to tell you a little bit, just real quick, we have like an adult education program where we help educate people getting their GRE, GED, I'm sorry, GREs, graduation, GEDs, and some of the vocational training, things like that. Case for Kids, a lot of after-school programs with high school kids. Head Start, we have special schools for either severely handicapped or emotional or chemical dependent students, K through 12. We also do therapy services that are provided by us. We're the largest provider of therapy services in the area, with well over probably 50% of the therapists working in the Harris County area are provided by us in school districts. And then a number of other divisions down here, and then Choice Partners is one of the divisions within the ACDE spectrum. So that's kind of who we are, what we are, and how we operate. We're the only division, I believe, that's what's called an enterprise division. No tax funding, none of that type stuff. We kind of basically, by working with you guys and having the fees, we pay for our salaries, and then are able to give a little bit back to help out some of these other divisions also. So this will be my last slide. Part of the reason we're here, we're not going to spend a lot of time looking into how you access the portal. I'm not going to, but we've got a rebate program also that was effective September 1 of last year, which is the beginning of our fiscal year. And we're going to want you guys to go in once we get it all finalized and set up. The members, as we speak today, are entering their orders and entering their information on using our contracts. So we always do it as kind of a cross check between vendors and members both into our portal for the rebate program. And the rebate program is basically designed to help members, your customers, our members, get a little bit of money back at the end of the year. That's the primary reason, but it also does a couple of other things. Also, it helps for accuracy of reporting, which you guys are doing with our members, as far as how much you're selling, dollars, things like that. And also the biggest thing, in my opinion, is the compliance side. If any of our members get audited and they say, oh, I was dealing with the roofing contractor, and yeah, I did a couple $1 million with them last year, and we don't have the information. Say they get audited, and they say, well, what was your method of procurement? It doesn't mean anything to a lot of vendors. But the members, it's a big deal. They have to either do this, or they do this, or they do this, depending on the dollar amount and the statute, and whether it's a commodity or construction or whatever. There's just a lot of different things they do. And they say, oh, we use Choice Partners. Say someone contacts us and we say, we don't have any record of that. The vendor never reported that activity. All of a sudden, red light goes up. You know, the member gets in trouble. All of a sudden, they're not happy with us. But really, it comes back to, if it's not reported, all of a sudden, you're not helping your customer be compliant. So what do you think happens to the good news, you know, to the news at that point? You get egg on your face. They say good news travels fast, bad news travels faster. It's also helping us complete the compliance side also, is the reporting accurately of the information. We were on with a district talking about some of our, like, the Amazon stuff we've just recently added, and talking to them about the Amazon functions, features, and benefits. And that's right. I said, oh, you're a large district. You should be doing $5 to $10 million with us a year or whatever. And then I said, we have about 120,000 that we've shown an activity on your for your district. It's not right here in the Houston area, but it's a large district in Texas. And she goes, really? We show that we've done like $1.8 million with partners using your contracts. I was like, I'd like to see that information. So, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 vendors, a couple 100,000 here, $500,000 here, and they weren't reporting. Well, that also factors into whether we get renewed, whether contract comes up. So there's just a lot of reasons for making sure that the reporting is done. Number one, that it's accurate and complete. And so we've also got some just kind of a guideline on, hit the wrong button, a guideline on how to access it and get onto the website. Oh, well, unreal. I mean, Steve's gonna cut his short. Yeah, so you gotta cut 20 minutes.
What you call me? No.
Anyway, we're just introducing this to the vendors, and purposely we waited on this. The members have been using this for a number of months now, just to let you know that it's out there, and we'll talk about it more as time goes by also. So I'm going to let Steve talk about some of the legal issues, legal things that are involved. You want this?
Yes, sir. How's everybody doing today? Good. I've timed out what I want to say, and I'm going to be out of here in about 12 minutes. I'll still be here if y'all want to talk to me. Anyway, my name is Steve Gibson. I've been in public procurement about 10 years. I've been in private procurement as well. And today I'm here to talk about, well, legal requirements. I guess the legal side of the Choice Partners contract. This is not that complicated for y'all at all. In fact, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this side. 99% of it is the member's responsibility. Just kind of keep that in mind. But what I do want to kind of cover, and by the way, timekeepers, I'm going to talk for about 3 or 4 minutes on this slide. But I'm going to go through the rest of them very quickly, so don't worry. My goal is to be out of here in about 12 minutes. All right. So what is the legal foundation for the Choice Partners contract? Okay, so very simple. You know, both member and vendor have an interest in a simplified path to a successful transaction. What does that successful transaction look like? Well, the member wants to reduce its cost of procurement. The vendor wants to reduce its cost of sales. Both sides benefit from reducing cost and reducing the time it takes to get to the actual transaction. That contract must follow government procurement rules. This is the primary service that we provide to our members. At its simplest point, it is an agreement for a vendor to supply a pre-specified product or service at a pre-specified cost. And you can gain business with the contract as much through relationships and through service as you can through bidding or responding to RFPs. You can always quote better than what you've provided in a choice partners contract. You just can't quote worse. A few, notes on members and vendors. We hold workshops for members as often as we hold workshops for vendors. Generally, it is not necessary for you to talk a lot about the legal side with your members. And quite honestly, most of them aren't really going to care that much about it. The member, I think it's important and more directly to y'all's needs. We can forget sometimes that when we talk about a member, we're thinking of an ISD or a county or city. But the contacts you're working with, always, ask yourself a few questions. What is their role? Are they a user? Are they a buyer or an agent? Or are they an approver? Who are you talking to? What's their motivation? Are they a relentless cost cutter? Or are they just trying to solve one problem and move on to the next? What happens after you submit your quote? Can your quotation get sunk behind the curtain by parties which you don't know or haven't seen? Yeah, most definitely, absolutely, it happens all the time. So before I just move into the next part, I just want to remind you 4 considerations to remember, just to help that behind the curtain side that you might not be aware of or might not see. 1, on your quote, cite the co-op and the contract number very easily. Meet or beat the pre-specified contract pricing. Do not add the administrative fee on your quotation. When you introduce a new product or service, get with your contract manager at Choice Partners first and make sure that you get it introduced into your contract in the proper way. Make sure we get it approved. And that way your member doesn't get surprised about it when they go and check the due diligence. Okay. And let's go ahead and move on to the next slide here. Thank you, sir. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so the service that Choice Partners provides to members, this is a good snapshot of it. It's not a complete snapshot of it, but what we're doing here, we're not just a collection of vendors. We're providing the members a way that they can procure very safely so that they're protected. How many times do you see a county administrator get in trouble with the law? Happens all the time. A lot of it has to do with the way that they're going about procuring their products and services. So we try to protect our members. This is one of the ways in the frameworks that we do it. We try to cover all these laws, be it local, state, or federal. Some benefits to vendors of legally procured contracts: less risk and time for sale, repeat business, a single award has potential for multiple entities, more relationship sales, less responding to RFPs. You can propose on needs that are never bid out, and not to exceed pricing applies to all members. Again, if you look at all these, what do they all do? What do they all are there to simplify the process? There's also a pre-qualification that benefits. If you have that Choice Partners contract, you've been vetted to a certain extent. Okay, why your government contractors are using cooperative pricing? The National Institute of Government Purchasing put out a survey asking governments why they're using co-ops. These are the top 3 reasons: lower prices, lower administrative cost, more favorable terms and conditions. This next slide could probably be better entitled, why your government customers are trending more, or why cooperative purchasing is an increasing trend with your government customers. Legal authorization by
Salad and chicken. You want some
federal state
No, go ahead.
codes
Um,
enough that you can get that
Yeah, no,
project
I'll probably get
started
something.
immediately.
I don't even know
You
if I'm gonna,
establish
I
pricing,
might just turn this
the
off at some
flexibility and
point.
convenience.
Most of it doesn't have anything to do with
Entities can
me.
shift their procurement resources away from very routine items to things which require a lot more attention and detail. They reduce their procurement cost and risk, and they get to work with the vendors that they know and love. So something which has come up in questions that I try to work on one-on-one with my vendors when I can is how do we do this? How do we get the members to understand now we have this contract, and how do we get them to a sale? My advice is keep it very, very simple. Do what you always do in service to your member. Think of it as a layer cake. Base foundation, help the customer. Next part of that cake, help the customer get what they want. That may not be from you at this point, so you may want to refer them to somebody else. Once you do establish that you have what they want, you're the best place to get it, you have your third layer. The last layer is really when it's a really good time and you can bring up the important thing. Help the customer get what they want from you. I'm dead here. Can you hit me?
Yeah, give me 1 second. See if that'll work.
Okay. Help the customer get what they want from you, legal and compliant. This is a great time to ask. Can I quote you cooperative pricing and save you a little bit of money? Yeah, keep it very, very simple. So Choice Partners offers a wide variety of contracts. I think at this point, we probably have, I don't know, Joanne, 200, 300 contract categories. Oh, you know, we're covered in school food, we're covered in technology, commodities, services, and we have a good number of construction contracts as well. And they're all approached a little bit differently, but you know, just something to keep in mind that as we help our members, we help them in a lot of different areas. So being part of the Choice Partners Cooperative as a vendor is a good thing. You're going to a member that has a history with us and you're working in that system. Okay, I'm dead again. Here it is. Quick quiz. How well do you know your Choice Partners contract? Most of these I touched on a little bit. Some I might not have. But my first question, this is a true or false. Is it appropriate to offer better pricing discounts to Choice Partners members than contracted pricing? True or false? Correct, true. Easy one. All right. Question number 2, true or false? It's permitted to add the Choice Partners fee to the quotation. True or false? Got it. Question number 3, pricing may be changed at any time in the contract period. True or false? You guys are on it. Question number 4, new items may be added to the contract pricing catalog anytime at renewal following approval from HCDE. C. Was that someone from Choice Partners? Stu, vendor standard terms and conditions do not apply when you use the Choice Partners contract. Well, false. Okay, does anybody know the contractual term for what that's describing? Supplemental contract. The supplemental contract is your contract with the customers that references the Choice Partners contracted pricing and terms. Last question, I kind of gave it to you, I apologize. I'm just so bad with this. What does IDIQ stand for? Implied discount in quotation or indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity? Indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. We don't know what they're going to buy. We don't know when they're going to buy it. In fact, we don't even know who or if they will buy it. We have a supply catalog. This is something which we're considering if we want to continue or not. But right now, it is in place. If anyone ask if you are on the supply catalog, there's no supply catalog is kind of a low bid option, whereas most of our contracts are RFP, which is more of a mix between prices, consideration, and a large one, but quality and other factors are also in that consideration. Reporting requirements is something I'm supposed to cover here too. And I'm a little disappointed because I've been telling my vendors that at the time that we did this presentation, we are going to have online reporting. And you're going to be able to go into your webpage to the vendor portal and report your sales. That has not happened yet, and our current timeline for that is the end of the year, but it is coming. So just, for your information, keep watching for the email. The idea is basically the same. We're just trying to get, the dollar amount of the sale, the name of the member, purchase order number, and the date. That's the key information which you need to report every month. And just to show you what that currently looks like, until we are able to open up that vendor portal to online reporting, every month, if you're in commodities, send this email, supply reporting at choicepartners.org. Very easy to fill out. Dollar amount, number, name, date, purchase order number, and contract number, your choice partners contract number. And even if you have no sales, just put a 0 at the bottom. I'm trying to get moving on, so I won't spend time on this. This is more Stephen's area. JOC stands for job order contract. This is a legally procured construction contract through Choice Partners. But this is what their reporting looks like. And then the food reporting, again, it's almost exactly like the commodities reporting if you are from food. And I know we have a few from food here today. That is everything I have. If you have any questions, please submit them through the chat, or you can get with me, or you can email me. I recognize a couple of my vendors here, and I'll get with you too. So look forward to talking to you. I hope you have a fantastic rest and that this information is very useful to you. You know what? Trisha is not here. Okay. Janet, do you want to cover it or do you want me to? I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about food. Okay, Janet.
You keep talking about food.
Okay, got it. All right, so.
Before you move on.
Yep.
On your last question, they order equipment or whatever on your website. How is the choice of the vendors made? Your selection process, do you parcel that order to? Is there some sort of priority?
Let me restate the question and make sure I have it correct. So you are asking if a member makes a purchase or a request for quote.
Request for quote.
If a member does a request for quote on the website, how does the vendor get selected to receive that request for quote? Is that accurate?
Right.
Okay. The member can choose. So when the member goes to their request for quote, and this will be more in Janet's areas, I think she's going to touch on this. When the member hits request a quote, I think it's called get a quote, they're going to have a selection of contracts and vendors. So the member picks. So if they say, like I did one this morning, a member emailed me and said, hey, can you help me get some pricing? They sent me a list of books. I said, sure. I know my vendors. I selected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, off of 3 different contracts, I selected about 7 different vendors, and I pasted it in there and I hit send. But yeah, normally, and the website is set up for the vendors to be able to do that. Members. Okay, so basically answer the question.
Yeah. Janet will show what that looks like here in a little bit.
Yep. Okay. Food and cafeteria contracts. So basically, Choice Partners was a collection of co-ops. One of them is focused on school food. School food's a very big part of Choice Partners. The other 2 are mostly commodities and services and then construction. We're all kind of one now, but Tricia Preston-Jacoma, who normally presents this, is not here. So these are all basically items that we procure for school cafeterias. And we are used a lot. School food is a little bit more stringent. One of the requirements, the FDA and the Texas Department of Agriculture are very, very involved in it. So they are actually, they have a few more legal hurdles that they have to jump through on those contracts. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing to move. There it goes. And I'm going to pass this on to Janet. Janet's going to talk a little bit about it. Janet is our Assistant Director of Marketing.
While we're doing the passing of the baton, I'd like all of you to just stand up for a minute. Just kind of, oh, no. Just stand up real quick, kind of shake a little bit. You want to get everybody awake, and then just sit down and then give a great big holler out, Choice Partners. Come on, let me hear you. Choice Partners. Everybody online, you can do that too. We want everybody to just be awake. What I'd like to start out with today is I'm going to call up all of our contract managers so you can visually see who you are working with, who should be your liaison with Choice Milk. So all our contract managers will come up here. I'll introduce them to you. And there's a reason I'm doing this, because later on, I'm going to show you how you must go through these people to get some of the help that I'm here to give you as the marketing team. All righty. Now, we did have the food contracts up there, and I'll just start off that unfortunately, our Assistant Director for Foods, Tricia Preston-Giacomo, is out ill today. And her assistant, Laura Spray, is at the doctor. So it is what it is. Can y'all scoot down a titch, because I'm not sure they can see y'all in the camera. So Joanne, is everybody visible? And I want to start off. This is, yeah, I know you have to. This is Steve. You met Steve Gibson and Christy
Nichols.
Okay, one shirt, could be Arnold, but.
I hyphenate, but I just stay.
Okay, very good. And then we have Monique Francis and we have Michael Robles. So before they go back, anybody who does not know who their contract manager is, raise your hand and one of these 4 people will come to you and say howdy. And make sure, because you must know them to be able to get to us to do some of the marketing for you. So is there anyone in here that doesn't know? Okay, can you, sir, what?
Educators Depot.
Oh, yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
And beside you?
Actually, no, I apologize. We both share the contract, but now it's in Kristen's hands.
Okay, and you, sir?
We're together.
Oh, okay, wonderful. There's one for each of y'all. Yes, ma'am.
Francis, your thing.
Ma'am?
Francis, your thing. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because somebody grabbed it. Thank you. Okay, all righty. So now all of you know, thank y'all very much. I hope everybody online took deep. We want y'all, ma'am. Christy, it's just way howdy. That's how we do it in Texas, y'all. I'm sorry. Oh, the Queen's Royal Way. Excellent. I'm so glad y'all are here online. I'm so glad y'all are here today. I get pumped because my background is sales. I do marketing now, but marketing and sales kind of dovetail. But I was in marketing. When I came on board here, I was a field rep. So I was boots on the ground for Choice. I went out, I met with all of the members in we have 50% of Texas. We had another rep that we kind of did the Mason-Dixon line in Texas from Beaumont to El Paso and everything north he covered. And now we have other reps that are doing that. But we want you to know that we are in your court 100%. We want you to be able to maximize this as a tool in your tool belt when you go out and meet with potential customers. And also the fact that you can take an existing customer, and if they fit the realm of governmental entity or nonprofit, that they are easily transferred over to becoming a Choice Partner member and they can use your contract. So we're going to show you all different kind of ways that you can move forward. And so I like to start with where do you begin? What would be your target market? Anybody got a suggestion? I mean, you're all in sales, you're here to promote your contract. Where would you start with this new contract? with your existing customers, right? You start with what's given, a bird in the hand kind of thing. And that's where I was saying that if you have an existing customer that is a governmental entity or nonprofit, but they're not a member, it's very easy to tell them that at no cost to them whatsoever at any time, they can become a member as long as if they're in Texas, they execute an interlocal agreement, or if they're out of state, they actually register and check the box that says out of state. That means they don't have to do an interlocal agreement. And Jeff shared with you that we had the language of the contract changed so that if they do execute an agreement, it states in there by the initial signature, which would be that potential customer to you, they are an immediate member and can start using our contracts, okay? The deal is we didn't want any delay. I'm waiting on the board, either our board or their board, to ratify and confirm. We want to keep the sales moving forward. I will stipulate that you may start having conversations right now with anybody, but don't let any funds change hands until that contract is in our hands. And when I mean contract, I'm the interlocal contract, interlocal agreement, because that keeps them compliant when there's an audit. And it's very possible an audit could happen. It's not, it doesn't indicate there's anything wrong. It's just the way we're stringent here in Texas. And people come in and they take a look. I mean, I've even known New York and New Jersey to have the same kind of thing. There is reflections and reviews, and we want to stay in the ball court supporting our members as well as our vendors. Okay, so you have that option. Then also there's, and you'll see it there, I believe you got a list of members in your brochure that was handed out. And if there is a member, that's another good place to start. You say, oh, look, they're already a member, I can go out there. Again, though, don't let that limit you. If you have non-members on your radar or you're cold calling and you see something in the area and go, hey, I think that's a nonprofit, or that's a charter that I don't see here, a charter school. You go, yes, you can go talk to them. We don't want to hold you back. Now, I will say this, we're another reason that marketing can assist you, and that is if you have somebody who is a potential customer and they're a non-member, we in marketing would be happy to reach out to them. Just shoot me an email, say, could you please talk to them about what membership is, how easy it is to get it, or they're interested in this contract. And it doesn't just have to be me. I am listed in the CP website under contacts, but any one of your contract managers can do the same, or they'll send it to us. Either way, we're going to help you get them together. It's not squeeze play on the customer as much as it's we want what's best for them and what helps y'all grow and move forward. We also say referrals. Don't ever forget to ask for referrals. This is kind of sales 101. Always network, you never know. And even within the same organization. So anybody who's worked with a county or a city or a school district or university, you realize that there's different divisions that handle different things. And if your service or product is applicable to multiple departments within that organization, go out and market to them. That's completely different. We're here to say that we do know the right hand and left hand don't always talk or sit down at the table, right? So just because you're working with the transportation department doesn't mean that business admin knows that you're one that they're talking to, or that business admin might be using copy paper and you got a copy machine you want to sell. Well, they might need it down in any other transportation. They might need it down in transportation, not just tires and stuff. Just make sure you think of the organization as a whole. Don't silo them so much that you don't see your own opportunities right in front of you. But each one has to have their own contract with you. And when I mean contract, I mean specific to the product or service you're ordering. They don't have to do separate interlocals. All the divisions within one organization have that one umbrella agreement. But when you do an individual contract, like for a specific product or service, then you would report each one of those. And then this is one that many people don't even realize. You go, why am I here with other vendors? Why can't you just talk to me? Or I think I've got it, I don't need anybody else. We've all learned that no man is an island unto himself and stands strong. Everybody needs somebody. So you can look around today, or you can look around on our website and find other vendors that we have awarded, again, that we have awarded, that you might say, oh, there's some symbiotic relationship we could have. I sell tires, you sell oil, and that's OIL, oil in Texas. So what we do is, just saying, y'all can get together and say, let's go visit the transportation department of XYZ school district or university or even the county. And you say, we can bring to them the benefit of what it is to be a member and use both of our contracts. You're not competing with one another. What you're doing is giving, you're bolstering strength, you're giving credibility. I mean, street cred goes a long way. If you're saying, you've been awarded, and we're here, then that's something they can consider. And I'm gonna go one step forward. You've heard me say the word awarded several times. You are special because you have been awarded. There are some co-ops that do not vet their vendors. They just allow a response and maybe a response in the check and boom, they're stamped approved. We don't approve, we vet. We have input from outside of our own division. And we also take into account some of the input from within. And so we want you to realize it's special and you want to use that word when you talk to your customers and how you move forward. So this is vendor login. This is where it's all going to start for you on the website. If you go to log in, I'm going to tell you, everyone here that is not the administrator or the estimator or the person that responded to the RFP that got you the awarded contract will have the login, the username and password. As vendor, do not go to set up a new account. That is just for our members. But if you want an additional login, you need to talk to whoever in your organization has this. It's the best way to keep it clean, simple. They might want to use the same one or they might need to change depending on if they've left or not. But once you log in, this is your backbone to the whole website. This is where you're going to want to go, and I want you to walk around and review that and try it out. It's amazing the information we put here for you to use. You see a member list that you can get right here. That's online. You can download it. You can email it to your sales reps out in the field. You can get it to your boss, whatever you need. Here's a vendor viewing of all the vendors that we have, much like the list that you're looking at in your portfolio right now that you have. So this is another way, excuse me, to be sure that you are working together or you're seeing who other players are in the field. We have partner messages and an eBid system, and this is where you first responded. And then here, marketing resources. That's my button, so let's go have some fun. So here in marketing resources, you go, okay, so what do I do with you? What do I? There's several links that we put up here. So even everybody that's online, if you want to run over and do that, you can see it in the PowerPoint that's handed out. Go check these out. These are live links that are tools for you if you've never sold to governmental entities or nonprofits that give you hints. ESC region, I want to explain that for those of you that aren't from Texas or aren't used to the educational realm. ESC is Educational Service Center. And that's how the Texas Education Agency divided up Texas into 20 regions. And sometimes customers refer to themselves, well, I'm in region A, I'm in region 1. I mean, and you're like, what's that? It is different than what they do for the counties. You know, they all have their own different one, but that is for us to use. And so I wanted you to make sure you go that. So the very first top of the page, when you hit marketing resources, so you're on the dashboard and you run down here, you see marketing resources, this is at the top. To become a featured vendor is a really fun event. I want to make sure that you're aware of that. It's very valuable to you. We're going to speak to that in a moment. But coming down to what's required in your contract, please take note of this because it makes a difference, as Jeff had mentioned earlier. When we renew contracts, we look for some things. We look for your participation. You need to have 5 different, conferences. Yes, we're asking for you to attend at least 5 different conferences throughout the year. Not throughout the time you're awarded, which is 1 year and usually 3 or 4 renewals, 5 conferences a year. When you go, I believe you got in your packet the Square CP seals. Were those handed out already? If not, we'll make sure and give them to you. So what it is it's a 12 by 12 and it has a flange back and you set it right here and it goes in on your table when you go to a conference. That, sir, is just to the survey, what's on your table tents. That's a questionnaire we ask you to fill out at the end, but we'll get those to you. But the seal is very, very important. We ask that seal right here. We have it where you can download it on page. This seal needs to be on your website prominently, where I'm not saying it has to overshadow anything that you have of your own. But when that's on your website and people go, man, I'd like to do business with them, but I'd like to do it a little easier. How can I do that? And they see co-op. Our customers and our members are becoming very savvy to the fact that it streamlines purchasing. So if you have that on there, then they're going to run to that website. And when you put that seal on the website, you can even link it to your own landing page. This drives business directly to you. So where you were asking earlier, sir, about how does the customer do a get a quote? If that seal on your website links directly to your personal landing page within the CP website, then you just picked up a warm lead, no more cold calling. And those are the kind of things that we want you to see as very important. We can help you with targeted emails, even ads in a state publication. We'll maybe co-author some together, or we'll just help you. If you have a publication that's relative strictly to your own service or product, let us know. We can help you craft an ad for that if you like. Or if you have an in-house advertising or marketing team, just send us what you're doing and we'll review it briefly to be sure that you have the correct verbiage, that you have your contract number and the CPC. A few things that'll help move it forward. Now, on the top is marketing pages. When you come down, this is where I'm telling you on that same marketing resources page is where you can go download the seal. So I'm just telling you, it is available. If you have any issues, contact your contract manager or myself. Now, I told you I wanted to come back to become a featured vendor. We have a monthly newsletter called Leader's Choice. And every month we have the option to do a lead article on a vendor. That sounds great, but if a lot of you are brand new, you'll realize that we do have some requirements before you can get started. We need you to have been used by a member, well, actually 2 or 3 members, and completed the project with a submission of your ordering, order reporting monthly. And then you can contact your contract manager and say, I'd like to be featured as a lead story. And they'll say, okay, let me talk it over. We always have final decision is by Choice Partners Management, but they'll review, how have you been using this? Have you been reporting? How good did the project go? We want to know a few things. And then we're ready to go for it. And then they'll tell your contract manager, he'll give you a link. And it's we do it online. They'll send you the link. You fill out the form. It comes to my division. And then what we do is I'll review the marketing collateral you want to use. And then for the featured, that's for if you want to get a contact list. For a featured vendor, what we'll do is we will send you some interview questions and we'll request some pictures. Now, what we usually ask for is 1 horizontal and 2 or 3 portrait size, but excuse me, it is something that gives you worldwide exposure. And I'm not just going on the www, but it is because we post it on our website. And if people Google, where do I get trucking service? We did Labatt Services, which is a food provider. And what they had a big picture of their orange truck, and that's all it was. And we're like, whoa, that just says it all, right? People will Google that and then they'll hit on the story, then they'll dive into the CP website, then they'll dive into the contracts. I'm just saying this is another way that you get exposure in marketing, but one, you don't pay anything extra. It's not like you had to go out and take a $10,000 or $20,000 ad campaign with another company to get this rocking and rolling using our co-op contract. It comes with the admin fee that you pay only when you finish a customer's project and the customer pays. So that's some benefits right there that you can't get. It's like, I don't want to say a lead headline for like the Houston Chronicle or the New York Post or something like that, but it's going to be out there. It's going to be posted in Cyberland and it'll be it. So we'll review the interview questions. We'll write the story. You can read it before we post it, but then it's out there and it's good. This is excellent. It's posted in Leaders' Choice and it's sent to our members and vendors, okay? So you get to read on other vendors, our members read on all of y'all, and then we just moving forward and grow from there. Now, a member contact list, like I said, in your folder right there, you have a list of our current members. It's updated monthly after we have every board meeting and any interlocals that needed to be approved or added and that sort of thing. But you can request that member contact list. This you can't get from the website. You have to go through your contract manager. And what they'll do is they will look at your website and see, do you have the seal on there? Does it link back to your landing page? And this is the biggie, y'all. I have to have some marketing collateral before I can offer you the list. Now, the list will include all ways to contact them: phone, snail mail, email, and then you can do whatever kind of campaign you want. Even if you want to do a phone campaign, I'd like to see a script of what your phone callers, canvassers are going to be saying. We do have some vendors and members that use the wrong terminology. It's very specific to whether you're a member or a vendor. It's very specific that you're awarded, not approved, things like that. Verbiage is on you to describe your own product or service. I might see a grammatical error. I might see a better way to say it, and I'll suggest that. But you send me most of the content, and I just look mostly to see that you comply with the best way to represent choice, okay? So this is what we do, this is what you do, and your contract manager, again, is your contact point to be sure you're able to get that link and do the request.
Is that a spreadsheet format for the?
It's Excel, yes, sir. It surely is. It's manipulative. You can put it in any way you want it. We try and label it and make sure it's there. One thing I will say, our database is dynamic, meaning it changes regularly. So any kind of bounces that you have, we ask that you send those back to our division. The lady that will be sending them out to you will send you the list, and she'll put in there, please respond to me with any hard bounces or that you have or something that didn't look right. Then we'll go in there and try and do our best to clean it up and match it to what is current. Now, what I want to do is just spend a few minutes educating you on the other side of the co-op, and that's the member view. As long as you know what your customer is able to do, it empowers you to meet their need more, not to outwit them, just to help them and build that trust and then keep your business moving forward. So you can see the member login is very similar to what y'all have, and they can use set up a new account. What this does when they set up a new account is give them access to the member dashboard. So they have their own dashboard. It has different buttons than y'all do, but it's everything they need. Now I'm just going to touch real briefly. As you can see, we do have a button down here. This will come very soon, hopefully, like you just said, at the end of the year for the vendor reporting so that it'll be online. But right now, the members are already doing this where they can upload their either a bulk list or one at a time usage of our contracts, okay? I did want to say, and I was going to talk with Joanne too, to show y'all that we will continue to send out a monthly reminder on the 15th of every month to the vendors to do your reporting. So you report monthly. When we change from doing what Steve showed you that was like an Excel sheet or just a spreadsheet to send in, we will tell you when, oh, the order portal's live, please go in and avail yourself of it. And that's how you'll know how it'll go out. We get that e-blast out to you on the 15th. And we might even do just a special e-blast to say, oh, get ready for it this month if we can do it ahead of time. And then on the 15th, you'll watch for the wording there that says, we are now going online for all your reporting. Trying to make it easier for y'all. So they, a member, can get a list of the current vendors. They can do get a quote, the supply catalog, and food. So let's walk through a little bit. This is what we call a landing page. Every one of you in here, every company represented in here has their own, what I call mini website within the Choice website, and that's called a landing page. So we just picked one vendor, and that's United Rentals, and you can see all the relative information here. From a member's point of view, remember, this is your customer. They want to be compliant. Number one, they never want to make a purchase that's going to get them in trouble. So they're always looking for the contract number. They want to know at the time, they want to know, is it still in existence? I don't want to buy anything that's outdated. Now, we know in Choice, in-house, we take care of that. We don't let things slide and fall through the crack. But they need to be able to see this and validate this to their procurement approval. So here, you can see that we also add whoever is the contract manager. That gives the member an opportunity to call us direct and say, hey, I'm thinking about using this company. What do you know about them? Do they work in my area? Is this something that would be the best for my job? Any kind of questions. You know, customers have questions. And then it comes over here and it shows your own website. We're trying our best to shove everybody your way, and this is very, very important. Now, here is another vendor and his own page, but what I want to do is take you from this area here where you can see he's approved just for Texas up here. Then over here, they specialize in Region 4. That's one of those ESC regions I was talking about. But this information is also available on the landing page. And what we want you to see is this about this partner. If you as a vendor don't supply this terminology and verbiage to your contract manager, the contract manager on their own has to go and extract from what you submitted for your RFP response and put it in here. So if that doesn't mean it's bad, it just means you might want to enhance it, right? Maybe you have something you want to say differently, or maybe you want to highlight something different. Please just get with your contract manager. It's not a big deal, but together you're going to get the best communication on your landing page. So they did this here. This is huge, the due diligence. And I don't think I have it blown up. It's hard to do. When you click on it, that's a live link. It actually takes you to everything a member needs to be able to validate a purchase on this contract, again, to their procurement approver, right? So it'll have the bid tab, the eval form, the advertisement. It has so much more information. Even I think we've added the W-9 now and a few other things. So it's all there. I don't want to say pride ourselves, but we share with our members that we are definitely transparent. And somebody feels much more comfortable when they don't have to seek it out or wonder where is this or how did they do that. We want to build trust with our members just like you do when they're your customer. This is extremely important, and that helps them move faster with their procurement needs. Now, here's what Jeff used to term the get a quote button was the fun button. Let's have fun. Because it's the fastest, quickest, let's see, redundant. So it's the fastest, most succinct way to do a request for quote without paying for advertising. I will clarify that it only pertains to awarded CP vendors. I had a member ask me one time, well, I didn't see XYZ and ABC on here. I go, oh, because they're not awarded. Our get a quote is strictly for our own vendors. So you can see we're driving business your way. But they do have the option at the top. It talks about what is the category. Then under the category, they pick how many vendors they want. Yes, they can pick more than one vendor. And we deal with what is required in many organizations is to have 3 quotes, even if they use a co-op. We don't get it, but it's their thing. You can't change their organization to fit your desire. But as long as you got whoever is on your landing page, let's go back here real quick. I want to show you this. Fiddlesticks. This page right here, there's usually somebody listed right here for the contact person. You'll have their information there. That's the person in your organization that will receive the get a quote. So they will click your button and pick your company. They'll put in here what they're looking for, and then they'll put in their contact information. They have the option to upload pictures or specs if they have them. And over here, it says product or service need by date. We added that so you as a vendor have a better way to quote. Now, in your contract, it states if you receive a get a quote request from one of our members, you need to respond within 48 hours. And we teach our members, if you don't get a response within 48 hours, call us. then we'll reach out to y'all and go, did your name change on the website? Did somebody not see this? Did you not get it? We have a member waiting. So we'll facilitate that. But you know you have to respond within 48 hours. This tells you when they want it in-house. I need this service in the next 3 weeks. And you're going, I've got 2 reps and they're already doing this and 3 over here. I can't meet their timeline. Please do them the service of still responding. Because when they hit submit, a copy goes to the member and you can respond, I can't meet your timeline. Is there any flexibility? Keep the door open. You're in business. You know how to keep it going. Say, oh, can I offer you an alternative? Don't make it big and elaborate, just the parameters. But the fact that you're responding allows them to represent to their board, if necessary, that they did go out for multiple quotes and they got responses. Maybe only one can say, I can get it right on the head. I have exactly what you need, when you need it, in the color you need it, and I can deliver on time. You know, it is what it is. We're all in the world out there to develop business, but they need to hear from you. Another thing that happens when you hit the submit button, one copy comes into our office. Right now it goes to the assistant director, Joanne Nichols, and another copy, let's see, went to them, and to you. So 3 copies go out. A copy goes to the sender themselves so they can keep a record of who responded, who didn't, and what they asked for. So it's a great way to have warm leads turn into a full-on order or an opportunity to grow more. And like I said, if you can't meet the deadline, all good sales says, I can't this time, but please consider me in the future. So these are all viable things. Potential customer will value you if you can shoot honestly with them and directly and cut to the chase, so they don't have to sit there and go through 3 hours of discussions with every vendor they'd like to see. Are there any questions on the get a quote? It's a great tool. It's just for the members, but y'all are the recipients, so it's a good thing.
What's the traffic on that? I mean, you get a lot of traffic, people requesting.
I would say, yes, I don't give the copies of the quotes. They go, like I said, to Joanne, but we've had multiple come in a month. I'd say maybe 5 to 10 sometimes, and other times 2 to 3.
A month?
It
No,
depends.
that's in a day.
That's in a day.
Okay, well, then there you have better feedback. The last time I talked to someone, so he said there, did you hear? I don't know if online you heard, Jeff said 5 or 6 to a day. Joanne said even more. It just depends on the time of year and that sort of thing. But there's always needs. They can shop even when we're closed. Being a school district, we do close for the holiday seasons, but they can still access the website 24/7. So that's one of the reasons I also want to mention that when you're on your own landing page, make sure you keep up with the contacts that are there. If you change anyone within your office, don't fail to make the change through choice too, because that's going to reflect who's going to get the quote, and make sure you don't lose a lead like that. Very important. Now, just some of the fun details here on our events page. It's under About Us. If you go on the website for About Us and choice, you have all these options right here. This is a list of some of the events that we go and exhibit at. Y'all are more than welcome to join, or you can find your own, but it's a great way to check it out. And then we also have FAQs. It's very, very valuable to familiarize yourself with what's in the FAQs. You go, oh my gosh, it's a book to read. But if you read it a couple times and you go out and you have one answer for one customer right then, you've done a good service. If you don't have an answer that a customer asks you, please never, ever hesitate to do this. Go down where it says contact us, and we have all our information right here. Every name turns into an email. You have the phone number, you have the title, and if all else fails, we have an 800 number, 877-696-2122. So, correct? So there we go. We try and make ourselves available to you whenever you have these opportunities. And I would say there's many of us that would answer a phone call on the weekend or after hours if you need it. So just be sure that you know your contract manager can move forward with that. So just a few takeaways. Avail yourself of the vendor dashboard, review it, and know how to use those buttons. If you have any questions, it's rather fast when you have to do it now. Contact your contract manager or myself. Review the marketing resources page, a wealth of help to you, and share with your member, which would be your potential customer, how to get a login ID. teach your sales staff when they're out there. We've had some of our field reps that go out and when they teach that person right then and there, boom, it's just like they open up the gates and they're just chopping. But they never knew how to access it. So be ready to teach that to them. And again, we can help you if you want to learn. Contract managers are the only ones that have the link to the request for a list of contacts. You must go through your contract manager for that. And if you're not in construction, this is what we'd like you to do right now. If you're in construction, please stay. If you're not in construction, there is a tip card. And I think it might have been dropped in the online where you can just do the QR code and respond to our survey to let us know how we're doing. I appreciate your time. I just want to give a quick question. Anybody with questions, an interest, something you want to share? Thank you very much. Time out.
Let's give them about a 5-minute break.
Oh, that's fine. All y'all online?
Stephen comes on, they can do the survey or stretch. or
Correct.
whatever.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. So bio break, regular break, coffee or cup. Thank you very much.
Right, good afternoon. How are y'all doing? Good. Does everyone in this room have some sort of job contract? Y'all are roofing. What do you do?
I'm with them. She's the.
Okay, perfect. What about you?
I'm an oil and gas fleet fuel.
Fleet fuel? Okay, so one apply to you. I know what you do. Are you with them?
I'm an ed
Okay,
tech.
HVAC. Perfect. And are you with, do you have a job contract? No? Do what? All right. Well, good morning or afternoon, maybe. My name is Stephen Kendrick. I'm Senior Manager of Facilities Planning here at Harris County Department of Ed. Just to give you a little bit of background of myself, I started out as an electrician at the age of 15. I worked for a general contractor all the way through high school and college. I went and worked for a home builder for about 2 years. And then I jumped into school business. I did 6 years as the Assistant Director of Maintenance and Operations at NFA ISD. And then Choice Partners recruited me. I did the legal compliance side of their construction contracts for 3 years before promoting into my position now. So one thing that makes me a little bit unique is I've sat in the contractor's shoes, I've sat in the facility guy's shoes, and I've sat in the purchasing person's shoes. So I've seen all three sides of that relationship and how it works. Today, we're going to discuss job order contracting. If you're online, especially if you're a single trade, then this may be new to you. And I'm going to kind of explain why you need this type of contract, especially if you're doing work in Texas. Outside of Texas, it varies. Some states have a different definition of maintenance and construction, but on the federal level, it's the same. So the first thing is, what am I going to discuss? Why job order contracting? Why do you need that type of contract? Maintenance versus construction, concepts, including trade job versus regular job, and quoting versus bidding. And then how to legally use a Choice Partners job contract. Please understand that 99% of everything I say applies to job order contracting. It doesn't matter if you're doing it with Choice or another cooperative or an in-house job contract with an entity. The law is the same for everyone, regardless of whose contract it is. Okay, so this isn't a Choice Partners thing. Everything I'm telling you is actually law. So why does legal compliance matter? The first thing is, and some of you have maybe experienced this, but almost all of you have at some point read the headlines of a project that's gone south with the governmental entity. And the deal is that different procurement rules apply if you're doing construction, okay? So if you're doing maintenance, you don't need things like prevailing wages. You don't need an architect or an engineer. You don't need permitting. You don't need bonding. liquidated damages, things like that. So we have different rules that apply once we're working in construction, okay? Public works contracts may trigger, again, body and prevailing wage requirements, and legal mistakes can delay projects, jeopardize budgets and result in cost overruns, and subject the governmental entity to financial liability to vendors and subcontractors. I can tell you, even if it's not your mistake, you don't ever want your company name tied to something that hits the news. Okay, we saw that back in 2005 down in Galveston. It's just not a good situation for any. So time and materials. If you've never done job before, you likely work in some sort of time and materials where you have your own hourly wage rates and your markup on materials, okay? In the state of Texas specifically, time and materials is not permissible if you are doing what the government considers to be construction. So it's not what the average person thinks of as construction. It's how the government has defined construction, okay? And that's very different. I'm not going to tell you it makes sense, but I'm going to tell you what that interpretation is here in a minute, okay? It is the only method in Texas allowed to select contractors for future undefined projects. What does that mean? At the time Choice Partners did their bid, there was no project-specific scope of work, right? You bid a coefficient against a unit price book. This is the only construction delivery method that allows there not to be a project already specified, named, engineered, architect, or drawings, okay? There are other cooperatives with other construction delivery methods. They're not legal in Texas. Make sense? There are contracts for architectural and engineering services with other cooperatives. Those are not legal in Texas. Choice Partners contracts do not cover you self-performing any professional services such as architectural and engineering. You cannot stamp drawings using this contract. So what is job order contracting, okay? This definition is slightly different if you're working with universities. Their definition does not include the word maintenance in it, but it's a procurement method used for maintenance, repair, alteration, renovation, remediation, or minor construction when the facilities, when the work is of a reoccurring nature, but the times, types, and quantities of work are indefinite. So basically, this is their on-call construction contract. They know they're going to need your services, HVAC, roofing. They don't know when and they don't know how much, but when they need it today, tomorrow, next week, next month. They don't have time to wait 4 to 6 months or more to do their own bid. Does that make sense? So factors to consider. This is what OSHA states we're supposed to consider when we're making the determination whether or not we're performing maintenance or construction, okay? Like for like. This is typically the only factor anyone takes into consideration. And they don't understand that OSHA defined it as not new or upgraded. So if you're providing anything new, or you're providing anything upgraded, regardless of how large the project is or dollar value, it is still construction. It can be $8,000. And if it's a new or upgraded, it is construction. You could be upgrading a regular plug to a GFCI plug. What is that, $5 plug? It's construction. Scale and complexity of the project, and then the physical size of the object being worked on, okay? I'll pick on my roofers that are in the room. If you're doing half a roof on a 10x10 storage shed, and it's just shingles, you're going back with light shingles, you could probably get away with time and material maintenance. Take that exact same example, let's add it to half a roof of a 500 100,000 square foot high school. Your physical size is now much greater. Your scale and complexity are much greater. It's over $20,000, so you're supposed to have it engineered, or they are. But now you have penetrations, you have curbs you have to mop in. You've got to make sure that the slope is correct, right? It is no longer maintenance. Even though you're not replacing the entire roof, it is still defined as construction. Make sense? Another example, my HVAC people, I'll pick on y'all this time. And I'm having this discussion actually today, last week, the week before. Time and material cooperative contract. Train rooftop units, replacing with like for like train rooftop units. It's maintenance. That was the argument by the sales rep. Here's the deal. Those units are not being maintained. They have reached end of life, and now they are being replaced with new and upgraded units. The tonnage may be the same, but the technologies are different. Freon's different. It's got to meet new energy codes and standards. It is not like for like, and it is defined as construction. To understand, if you have time and material contracts, they're only for maintenance. They're for things like replacing capacitors, tightening belts, cleaning coils or tubes. They cannot do construction once you realize something is at end of life or failure and you have to replace it. A job contract, however, can be used for construction and maintenance. If you remember, maintenance was in that definition. I know Jeff touched on this earlier. I'm going to hit on it again because it works a little bit different in job order contracting. Okay, so Choice Partners is actually Harris County Department of Ed. We write contracts and award them, evaluate and award them based on our needs for our school district, as well as all of the cooperative member needs. Okay, we sign interlocal agreements with those members. All that means is we're signing a contract with them, stating we'll share each other's contracts. So we, as the school district, can use it for our own in-house stuff. And other governments can use all of our contracts for their projects and needs, okay? But how many people consider the PO, the contract between the member and the vendor? How many of you submit a proposal, and then they issue you a PO, and you consider that the contract and you go to work? Here's the deal. In job order contracting, they actually defined what constitutes a contract. And what they said was, this actually went to court. And they had one proposal with the vendor's signature and their terms and conditions. And then they had the member's PO with a link on it to their terms and conditions on the website. And the school district tried to argue that that made up a contract. The judge said that Texas Government Code 2269, Section 410, defined a contract as a single document with both party signatures agreeing to the same scope of work and the same term and conditions. He said that proposal was a single document with one party signature. The PO was a second document with one party signature, but there was not a single document with both party signatures. We recommend that a master service agreement, a master job agreement, an AIA contract is always used as a supplemental agreement. Here's why. When Choice Partners bid this, did they know the owners adopted prevailing wage rate schedule? No, they didn't. Do they know if they're going to hold retainage? No, they don't. Do they know what constitutes a notice to proceed or substantial completion or final completion? No, none of that is in a cooperative contract. So what you want is to always sign an agreement with them that's specific to them and to you, where y'all are both agreeing to the same terms and conditions for their entity. Does that make sense? So our contract is just, it only satisfies the legal procurement method, but it's not project specific. You want an underlining contract that's project specific, specific to the member that you're working with. So jobs procured by purchasing cooperatives. I'm not going to go over this entire slide. In fact, I've already discussed a lot of it. But the governmental entity can select you, the vendor, without having to use their own competitive procurement. State of Texas says that they have to get at least one quote. It does not require them to get more. So if the facility guy wants to work with you, as long as his own entity does not have a more restrictive requirement for additional quotes, he doesn't have to get additional. It never hits the street. You're not competing with every low bid out there. That's one of the major benefits to this contract for you. Now, there are times when they will have to get 3 quotes, okay? When they're working with FEMA dollars, FEMA has, after Hurricane Harvey, said that they want to see 3 quotes, and they want at least one of those 3 to be from a minority-owned or woman-owned business, okay? So expect to have a little competition when those funds are being used. Some of them, if it's over a certain dollar threshold, their purchasing department has put in policy that they have to get 3 quotes. Okay, so they may not only be able to work with you, but the intent of these contracts is truly for you to be able to work with them and help them develop scope of work, and then go to work without having them put it out to bid and you compete against everyone. As I said before, this is the only contract method allowed to select contractors for future undefined projects. What is a JOC estimate? Okay, for my JOCs, such as facility sources, I saw y'all online, y'all know exactly what this is. But for those of you that are new to this, many of you think that a JOC proposal is simply your scope of work with the lump sum total, right? And many governmental entities will accept that. But statute actually states that it's a lump sum substantially based on the contract named unit price book and your legally bid coefficient. There's no way for your client to be able to pass an audit without your line item estimate. Make sense? There's no way to determine that you're providing them legally bid pricing without that line item estimate. The estimate should always include a contract number. Okay? All governmental entities are pretty much going to spend $50,000 in the aggregate year for construction services. So they need a contract. If they're asking you to quote it, you don't have a direct contract with them, you need to find out what that contracting method is. Because what will happen is they will then send it to purchasing. And purchasing will say, hey, we don't have a contract with them. Are they on a cooperative? And then you say, and they come back to you and say, are you on a cooperative? You say, yeah, just add 2% to my price, and that's your fee. Well, what happened then? You didn't bid your off the street price plus 2%. You bid a coefficient against unit price book. You're now going to have to go back and re-estimate that project twice. Does that make sense? Nobody likes doing work twice. You always want to know that procurement method up front. I will also heed a word of caution and say, even if you do have an internal contract with them, you really need to have this discussion. This isn't specific to Choice Partners, but the deal is that if you just submit the quote without a contract number on it, purchasing will possibly look you up and see what co-ops you're on, throw a cooperative contract number on there, and then send you a PO. What happens is when you accept that PO and you go to work, you've accepted the terms of the cooperative contract and paying them that fee, even if you don't know it's on that PO. Does that make sense? And that's true of every cooperative I've ever worked with. So don't get caught off guard. Have those conversations up front. A lot of times, I can tell you from my own experience, when I first started out in the school business, I didn't know what cooperative purchasing was. I didn't know I had to have a contract over a certain dollar value. I called 3 contractors out and get a quote and never discussed the contracting method. And then all of a sudden, they were having to go back and redo their estimates because then my purchasing department made me put a cooperative contract number on there. It should be based on the unit price book. So depending on your contract, Choice Partners names 4 unit price books. They name RS means, which is kind of the industry standard. They name Xactimate, which is used a lot when you're working with an insurance company, sometimes with FEMA, Sierra West, and then Craftsman National Construction Cost Estimator. Sierra West is predominantly used out in California with our K through 12 governmental entities. Sierra West was named in state statute for those entities. Localized by applying the city cost index. So we're not working off the national average. We have to change the settings in the program for the location of the project, not the location of the billing office, not the location of your office. And then all subcontractor pricing must be estimated using the unit price book. HVAC. They line item out all the AC units and everything real nice. But then they need an electrical subcontractor to upgrade the disconnects. And they need a roofer to come in and mop in the curves. And so they do all their line items beautifully, and then they say electrical subcontractor 50,000 and roofing contractor 75,000. It's not permissible in job order contracting. There's electrical line items, there's roofing line items. You still have to use them. You can't just take your contractor, add your markup, and then do a non-pre-priced custom line item. Does that make sense? This is what an estimate could or should look like. I know this is hard to see, but this presentation is available on the Choice Partners website, so you can get it. We also have examples of these. We can email you if you request them. Depending on what estimating software you're using, it may look a little bit different than this, but all of the components should be the same. So the first one is my contract number. Second one is the data release. Contract states that you will use the most current. RS means, and most of the other price books update quarterly. Okay, right now we're in 2023. They've already released the 2023 price book. You're going to use whatever's the most current at the time your client requests the quote. Quantity, that's the number of each line item. Line item number, that's a 12-digit number. It follows CSI master format. Your client can type this 12-digit number into the search engine of the unit price book and verify if anything has been manipulated. Description. Anything not in that description is another line item. Okay, so you might have equipment rental, but maybe you didn't have the labor to run the equipment. In that scenario, the labor would be a second line item. Unit of measure. Choice Partners contracts specify that you will use pricing with overhead and profit included, or right-hand means, okay? So in my example, I'm only showing the total O&P pricing and the extended total O&P pricing, okay? Extended total is simply the total per unit multiplied by the quantity. That gives you your extended total. Labor type. The unit price book has many different labor types. They have STD for standard union. They have FMR for facility maintenance and repair. They have OPM for open shop. We don't care which one you use. What we're looking for in this column is if it says user. If it says user, then something in this line has been manipulated. Not maybe that you went and added to the description. Maybe you didn't manipulate the price. It will still tell us that you changed it. If you want to add to the description or clarify what you're doing or give quantities, that should be done in the notes section. And then you won't get that user. City cost index. If you see, this does not say national average. It says Texas, Houston, 770 to 772. Okay, what we're really looking for here is the first 3 digits of the zip code you're working in. Okay, so understand those first 3 digits are going to be tied to the largest city in that. You may be working in surrounding cities that have the same 3 digits. That's okay. So I know that NARS means 775 says Galveston. But if I go to Baytown, they're also 775. And if I go to LaPorte, they're also 775. Galveston isn't what matters. It's those first 3 digits. Make sense? Once we do that, it's going to give us an NARS means total. And this is where we apply our legally bid coefficient or our discount. Okay? If you bid a 0.90, you're discounting the NARS means price by 10%. Then understand that job order contracting is not to exceed. You still have to be competitive to get the job. Okay? You can, if you choose, give an additional discount. You do not have to, but you can. But you never change the coefficient to give an additional discount. Does that make sense? Coefficient is the only thing you legally bid. So don't change that number because then it won't match your bid documents in an audit. Just provide an additional discount separate of that coefficient. Performance and payment bonds, permitting, those are pass-through costs with Choice Partners. So you want to add them at the end. And Choice Partners does not charge their fee to those items. So if you have a contract with 2% fee, your payment performance bond, your permitting, if you put them as pass-through at the end, they do not charge a fee. Okay? The software does have those line items as well, but then it's not a pass-through. Review the job quote. Choice Partners does contract reviews. If you have a job contract, they're likely going to review you once a year. If you have a trade job contract, it's going to be more than a year, every 2 years, every 3 years. But here's the deal. It's also every time one of your clients asks for a review. So your clients will send your proposal to Choice Partners and say, hey, does this comply with your contract? And we have to review it and reply back and say yes or no. This is what we're looking for. We're not getting into your scope of work. We're not getting into your estimated quantities. All we're checking for is what's specified in the contract. Did you apply the city cost index? Did you use the coefficient that you legally bid? Did you use the overhead and profit pricing column? Data release, is it the most current at the time the bid or the quote was requested? Non-pre-priced items, did you use them? And if you did you follow the contract language in section 6.3 that states what you have to do to use those? So that you know, I avoid these at all costs. I do not want a non-pre-priced line item. If it's federal dollars, I will not use a non-pre-priced line item. And here's why. Your non-pre-priced item, the contract says you're supposed to go get 3 quotes, add the customary markup that you bid, and then create a non-pre-priced line item. Well, the first thing is, how many of you can get 3 quotes? Depending on what it is, you may not be able to. The second issue is that federal contracts do not allow cost plus pricing. So if you do your 30% markup, that line item has just become cost plus. When that federal contract gets audited, they will de-obligate those lines. They will take that money back from your client. So what I do in lieu of a non-pre-priced line item is I find a line item that's the closest match to what it is I'm providing. And then in that note section, I tell them exactly what it is that I'm giving them. And then they have the option to review it and decide if they agree or disagree. Attempts to pass through the cooperative fee. If the cooperative fee is listed anywhere on the estimate, it'll get kicked back to you. Use of Division 1. Choice Partners contract restricts the use of Division 1. It does not prohibit it. Okay, so they restrict overhead items. So your truck, your fuel, your cell phone, your printer, your computers, your computer software, your office overhead, your secretary, your project manager, your site superintendent. Those things are all restricted. You can use everything else pretty much. Okay, so all the equipment rental is available to you. We make your clients aware when adjustment factors are used. Some of the estimating softwares kind of hide it. They don't truly understand how to look for it or what to look for. It's not clear. We will bring those to their attention. It's their decision whether or not they apply to the scope of work. So that's what it involves. If you get an email saying, hey, we're reviewing your contract, you're not in trouble. We're looking to see what you're doing, if you're complying, and then if you're not, we're simply going to provide you training to show you how to properly use the contract. We all know that one person's doing the bid and someone else is out there doing the estimates and quotes, or the person that responded left and a new person comes on. It's just our opportunity to make sure that you understand how to use the contract. You're not in trouble. The job order itself should be issued by your client. Okay, it should be signed by both parties. It should state the scope of work and the price of assigned tasks, and it should provide their adopted prevailing wage rates. Okay, if they do not give you their prevailing wage rates and you're not paying the trades the prevailing wage rates, and the trade finds out because the other contractor you were bidding against got angry and went out there and showed all of them at quitting time, what happens is that you, the vendor, are not responsible. You don't pay the difference. But your client is responsible, and they will have to go back and pay all of your subcontractors and employees the difference between what you're paying and what their prevailing wage rate and schedule is. If you want to protect them and you know they're supposed to have it and they didn't give it to you, ask them for it. So the bid or proposal versus the quote. In our world, in the vendor world, we call everything a bid. The facility guys that you're working with call everything a bid. Okay, but the state of Texas does not call everything a bid. What they consider a bid is the formal, written, sealed response that you provided to Choice Partners that satisfies the procurement. It's evaluated, recommendations are made to the board, and the board approves it. That's the bid. Every bid you do after that, using that contract, is considered a quote. Okay? You are using what you bid to provide a project-specific quote. This is not specific to all states. This is specific to Texas. But the deal here is, say Texas says you have to get one quote, they do not restrict the number of quotes the members can get. So technically your member can get 20 quotes. That's not what we train them to do. We provide training. I always recommend a maximum of 3. And that's because I know that there's federal requirements that they may have to adhere to, or additional more restrictive internal guidelines that they have to follow. But it is not intended for you to completely rebid everything. That's not the intent. Understand that when they ask for a quote, they're not rebidding you or recompeting you as you consider it. So you say you can't recompete me. That's illegal. And you're right. They can't rebid you or recompete you. But all that means is they can't make you rebid your coefficients. That's it. It doesn't mean that they can't get quotes based on what you bid. And in the state of Texas, they allow that. Couple of final thoughts, and I think I've hit on most of these already, but make sure and establish that procurement method up front, okay? It's important when you're working with Choice, but it's important when you're working with anyone. Doesn't matter the cooperative, doesn't matter if it's an internal contract. Almost everything requires a contract number nowadays. You always want to make sure you understand which one you're using. Put the contract number on the quote, okay? That way, if for some reason they changed it and they didn't have that conversation with you, you can say, here's what I provided. Remember what I said, 2 documents, single signatures, that's your protection. Choice Partners at this time needs to receive a confirming copy of each PO and then monthly reporting to complete that legal procurement process. So on the 15th of every month, you're supposed to submit that example that Steve showed earlier with the projects you've been paid on and the projects that you have been given a PO on but are not complete. Please understand, there's 2 sections. The top section is the completed section. What that means is you have been paid in full and you are ready for Choice Partners to invoice you. The second section is for everything you have not been paid in full on. Project may be complete, but you haven't been paid in full, okay? You do not have to move it up and get billed on it until you've received payment. At that time, you'll move it up. Does that make sense? And then if you hear nothing else, hear this. I am not an attorney, and I can tell you that every attorney has their own opinions. So when there's a legal question, please consult your own attorney or the entity that you're working with's attorney. Do I have any questions?
No, sir.
That was a lot, huh? Completely agree. First time you've ever heard it, right? Most of it. I understand. And I'm going to tell y'all, nobody is proactively looking for this until something goes wrong. And it usually involves a vendor that thought they should have gotten the job they didn't, and they go and protest it, or they go and file suit. Or it involves federal dollars during the federal audit. All right, well, if there's nothing else, I'll turn it back over to Jeff. Here's the link to the survey. If you didn't already complete it, please take the time now to complete it. Let us know what we did good, what we did bad, what you'd like to see in the future. And thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Stephen Kendrick.
Okay.
All right, we're good? Okay. All right, I know when Stephen talks, it's like, a lot of times people are like, why do that? Well, that's right, and that's an extreme differentiator between our contracts and some of the things we know and do versus a lot of people out there that are run by a for-profit entity, and they're just out there scooping up money as much as they can. They don't care about the people being compliant and all that to the extent that we do, and we have to because we're using our own contracts all the time too. We get in trouble if they're not correct. So just a ton of good information. I hope the information that Janet, that Steve, that everyone else covered helped kind of educate you a little bit on who we are, how a cooperative contract works if you didn't already know it, or maybe we were able to possibly give you some differentiators as far as what we do, maybe if you're in multiple cooperative contracts, things like that. And hopefully you can use our contracts to your best advantage. I don't know if you mentioned anything about it.
I would add, when we talk about reviewing the contracts, that there is not a fee to them or their client.
That's a good
So
point.
most of the other cooperatives charge a fee back to the vendor. We're done.
That's a good point. And I guess locally and on the screen, you probably were able to hear what Stephen was just saying, that when we do the review or take a look at your line item estimate, your quote to a customer, because there won't be a charge, and it's typically, we'll have an answer back to someone, or would have forwarded it back to you or responded to the customer within 24 to 48 hours. So it's a quick turnaround. There's probably only maybe one other person that would even say, oh, we do it, and then they farm it out to a third party, and then they pay somebody, and
And it takes weeks.
it's this elongated, multiple week process. We'll knock it out, we'll turn it around. And this is for your customers, basically our members, or if you guys want to send something to us for review. That's a very common thing also. So just let us help you help yourselves. Let us help you help yourselves and help your customers. So you grow your business, you gain customers, you gain increased sales. So with that, I would, anything else?
I would add one other thing,
Yep.
just so that y'all know it's available to you. Choice Partners offers trainings completely free. They can set them up virtually. If you're out of state, we can come to your office and train your staff on these contracts. We can train you how to use RS Means. If RS Means is foreign to you and you've never used it. These trainings are available to you. All you have to do is get with your contract manager and request it. And we'll come out and provide whatever it is you need to support you. And there's no fees with that as well. There's no additional costs anywhere.
Good information. Anything on the chat, Joanne? Nope.
I think you covered all of it.
It would hopefully wake some of these folks up. Anyway, so you remember talking about the motorcycle voice earlier. I have one more thing. Anybody a hunter in the audience or I don't know, probably online? I think so. A couple of hands in the back or whatever. Well, I want to tell you how to call a duck. All right. So you ready? Okay, get ready. Ready? Come here, duck. All right, thank you. We're done.
Oh, and then lunch is next door. If you haven't eaten yet, it's still.
Yes, if you haven't eaten yet, there's lunch next week.
It's actually right here in the back of the room.
Thank you very much.